everyone, welcome back to the channel. If you're new here, I'm Brittany, an American who moved to the UK about 2.5 years ago now, and I moved here mostly because my dad is from Oxford, so my entire life I just kind of dreamed about moving to the UK, specifically London, just to get to know my roots a little bit better. So I wasn't really even thinking about how much the UK would change me after living here, but it really has. It's completely rewired how I live, think, and even walk. So today I'm sharing 10 ways living in the UK changed me from walking everywhere to saying sorry to inanimate objects. Let's get into it. First, let's talk about walking everywhere. When I first moved to the UK, I didn't realize how much walking was just a part of everyday life. Back home, a 30-minute walk would have felt like an expedition, and honestly, you just wouldn't really see anyone saying like, oh, it's a 30-minute walk, and just start walking there. They would just hop in their car, drive over there. That's pretty normal in the States unless they're in New York, but here a 30-minute walk is just kind of a quick stroll. You walk to the train station, to the shops, to meet friends, to literally everywhere. Even in big cities, people think nothing of walking 2 or 3 miles instead of driving. It's completely second nature now, and I actually miss it when I go somewhere that's a little bit more car dependent. You start to notice how walking just kind of clears your head, how the weather changes by the minute, and how much of the city you would miss if you were sitting behind a steering wheel or honestly even on the train. It's weirdly grounding. So now I've definitely developed this like walking mindset. If it's under 45 minutes, it's walkable. Next, we'll talk about checking the weather app religiously. In the UK, checking the weather isn't a suggestion, it's a survival skill. I used to laugh at people who would check the weather forecast every morning, and I think it might be a little bit different for me compared to an American coming from somewhere else in the States that does have a ton of weather changes in like all 4 seasons. But being from Los Angeles, I can tell you that I literally never check the weather. It's pretty much just sunny and mid-70s year round. So when I first moved here, I was just never in the habit of checking the weather, and it did screw me on countless occasions. But now I check it before I leave bed in the morning, as I'm walking to the train station for work, before making any plans. The weather here just changes more dramatically than a Netflix plot twist. So if there's sunshine, don't trust it. You see a blue sky, doesn't mean it'll be there 5 minutes from now. You'll learn the subtle art of layering a t-shirt, jumper, waterproof jacket, just in case. So my phone's weather widget is basically my most used app now, and even though the forecasts are only mostly right, it gives you this illusion like you have control. Like maybe this time you're gonna outsmart the UK weather and dress correctly for the entire day that you'll be out. You won't, but you'll keep checking anyway. This next one is so funny and so British. Saying sorry when someone bumps into you. In the UK, sorry isn't really about guilt. It's more about like emotional punctuation. Someone bumps into you, you say sorry. Someone drops something, you say sorry. You sneeze, you say sorry. You exist slightly too loudly, definitely say sorry. It's like a national reflex here. And at first I did think it was a bit excessive. Like, why are we apologizing for things that aren't our fault? But then I realized it's not really about fault. It's much more about just keeping things smooth. The British are just so overly polite, especially compared to Americans. We're a lot more abrupt, we're a lot more direct. So I feel like the word sorry just kind of softens everything. It's a way of saying I acknowledge this slightly awkward situation, so let's move on now. And eventually it just kind of seeps into your bones. I actually caught myself saying sorry to a mannequin once when I bumped into it, and that's when I knew I'd fully assimilated to British culture. Next is adapting to smaller fridges and more frequent trips to the grocery store. The first apartment I lived in Hammersmith, I saw the fridge and I thought it was a mini bar. I thought, how do people survive with this teeny tiny fridge? But you adapt because shopping here is different. Instead of a massive weekly bulk grocery store haul like we would at Sam's Club or Costco back in the States, people buy fresh ingredients here every day or every few days. It's kind of nice because you get into this rhythm of you go on your morning walk, you pop into Tesco, you grab a few bits, and you just kind of repeat it the next day, and actually makes you think more intentionally about what you buy and what you eat. The produce sections are smaller, but the food goes bad faster, which means it is fresher. It's definitely more inconvenient at first, especially by American standards, because we're just so used to stockpiling food, buying in bulk, but once you get used to it, it's oddly satisfying because that morning I can think, what do I want to eat for dinner tonight and get the ingredients for that day, rather than just kind of looking in the fridge and having to come up with something based on the ingredients that I already have in the fridge because I bought a week ago. Next is something that might be specific to Americans who come from sunny places like Texas, Florida, or me in California: getting emotional when the sun comes up. Being from LA, I used to take the sun for granted. It was pretty much a guarantee that you would see the sun that day, and if you didn't, it was kind of like a fluke and a huge deal. Everyone gets upset on the one gray or rainy day that we have every few months. It's like all the news. But in the UK, the sun is like a celebrity. It has rare appearances, it's always a headline, and when it finally shows up, people lose their minds. Parks fill up, pubs overflow, strangers are actually smiling at each other in the streets, which is not something people do in London. I know more so up north they do that, but still in London they don't. It's like the whole country collectively defrosts, and honestly you start to understand it. After months of gray skies and early darkness, sunlight really does feel like therapy. It's not just light, it's hope. I've learned to savor it, sit by a window, rearrange my day just to be outside and kind of feel the rays soak into my very pale skin. You develop this deep appreciation for small golden moments, even if they only last for 5 minutes before the gray clouds roll back in. Now, to piggyback off that last point, another way the UK changed me is realizing that rain doesn't stop anything here. In some countries or even states, like again where I'm from in California, rain cancels plans. It cancels everything. But in the UK, there's always a chance that it's gonna rain that day, whether it's a light drizzle or an absolute downpour. So you can't just never make plans, or you'll never have any plans ever. Like honestly, when it's raining, life completely goes on as normal. People really don't even acknowledge it half the time. Like you'll see people out just like walking their dogs in a full-on storm, just completely unfazed. I've learned to just accept it too, which was so not the case when I was back home in California. Rain meant I was gonna do absolutely nothing that day except curl up on the couch and watch a movie. And I know this is just British life that people have just kind of been used to since birth, but watching a kid's soccer game, even though it's still drizzling, or people just going on with their usual morning walks, even though it is pouring, it's admirable. The British don't need sunshine to function, and that's kind of inspiring. The next way that the UK changed me is in the phrases and words I use sometimes. I remember the first time I said cheers instead of thanks, which is one of my favorite British words. I love how versatile it is and how it's just used for everything, and even though it doesn't sound great in an American accent, in my opinion, I was like, wow, look at me using British words without even realizing it. And before moving to the UK, I would never describe something as lovely or quite nice instead of saying that's awesome or amazing, or saying something is sorted rather than, oh, I figured it out, or even saying full-on sentences like, I'm gonna go pick up some bits at the shop. But now these are all things that are just naturally a part of my everyday vocabulary. And again, even though it sounds way nicer with a British accent rather than an American one, in my opinion, it's so interesting to see how much the UK has changed and influenced my vocabulary and slang since moving here. Now we'll talk about getting into pub culture, even though I'm not a huge drinker to begin with, and also my entire second year of living here, I've either been pregnant or breastfeeding, so not drinking anyway. But I've touched on this in a few videos now, but something I love about the pubs in the UK is that they're more than a place to drink. They really are the beating heart of British social life. You can meet friends, bring your dog or your baby, have a Sunday roast, or honestly just sit quietly by yourself with a book. I just love how welcoming pubs are, even if you don't drink much. It's not really about the alcohol, it's about a place to come together, and the vibes totally shift with the seasons. Cozy and firelit in the winter, buzzing with beer gardens in the summer. There's just like this unspoken comfort with it. Like no matter what's going on in life, the pub is there. It's completely different to a bar in the States where you really only go there to drink. You wouldn't just kind of go there and hang out, and you definitely wouldn't bring your baby or dog with you to a bar. Now, something else that the UK subtly teaches you without even realizing it is how to live a bit greener. It's not necessarily a loud environmental movement, it's more kind of just woven into everyday life. Recycling isn't just encouraged, it's kind of just expected, it's just the norm. You'll find separate bins for everything: paper, glass, food waste, plastics, garden waste. Sometimes you need a degree just to figure out which one's which, but it becomes second nature eventually. easily. The same goes for reusable bags. After paying that little 10p charge a few times, you never forget to bring your own tote again. And then there is the shift away from driving. Public transport, walking, cycling, again, they are just the norm. Owning a car feels almost unnecessary in big cities, and you kind of start to notice how that affects your habits. You buy locally, you walk more, you consume less, and it's not about being perfectly eco-friendly, it's just about being aware. Living in the UK just makes sustainability feel less like a trend and kind of more just common sense, which I know I'm gonna get tons of comments like, it's like this everywhere else in the world except for the US. You guys are the only ones who don't care about the environment, which is true, but this video is about ways that the UK specifically has changed me. So please remember that before you comment that it's like this everywhere else in the world. And the last way the UK has changed me is knowing exactly when the last train home is. In the UK, missing the last train is a character building experience. You learn fast because once that clock ticks past midnight and the last service leaves, you're kind of stranded. No Uber can save you if you are too far away. So everyone develops this kind of sixth sense for train schedules. You'll see people checking apps mid-conversation, calculating whether they can squeeze in one more drink before the 11:42 departs. It becomes part of your internal rhythm, this awareness of time and timetables, and weirdly it gives your nights a kind of structure. You learn to plan ahead, to coordinate routes, to appreciate the small victories of making it by 1 minute. The UK train system might be unpredictable, but it's also a rite of passage. Miss one and you'll never forget again. It's not just about transport, it's about timing, discipline, and knowing when to call it a night. So there you have it, 10 ways that the UK has changed me as an American who's been living here for about 2.5 years now. So let's take a look at why I decided to leave the US and move to the UK in the first place.